Now, let me break down the true cost of Medicare. This is very brief. Originally, the Obama administration told us it would cost about $900 billion. Now, it's about $1.8 trillion and counting higher, that according to the Congressional Budget Office. Also from the CBO, we can expect anywhere from $250 billion to $500 billion in new taxes, depending on how the mandates shape up. Don't forget there's payroll taxes and investment tax hikes in there. And the CBO itself estimated we can expect 800,000 jobs to be lost in the next decade because of Obamacare. So, who better to ask than the man who's crunched all these numbers? Joining us now for a first in CNBC interview, House Budget Chairman Paul Ryan, Republican from Wisconsin. His new budget proposal is heading to the House floor tomorrow. Mr. Chairman, as always, it's great to see you. You studied Obamacare as much or more than anybody around. I want to ask you this, a serious question. If Obamacare is implemented, will it bankrupt the U.S.?
Yes, it will, Larry. It vastly underestimates how many employers will actually drop their employer-offered health insurance and dump people into the government exchange. What private sector actuaries are telling us is within a couple of years of implementation, about two-thirds of employers will just wash their hands of offering health insurance to their employees, dump them into the exchange. As many as 120 million people could be eligible for this new open-ended entitlement. It will be larger than Medicare, and it will explode the fiscal costs. So we see this bill bankrupting Medicare. We see this bill destroying the health insurance system. We call it BUCA. We think there are going to be 5 insurers left: Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, and Anthem, meaning you're going to have about 5 insurers who would be sort of like public utility companies, regulated utilities for health insurance by the federal government, and just about everybody will be in the exchange. And if you actually meet with the actuaries who are preparing for that exchange insurance, it's going to be Medicaid for everybody is what they tell us. And so I just painted in about 6 sentences a story of the implosion of the healthcare system and an explosion of our public debt.
All right, so I'm not far wrong. My fears are not far wrong. I appreciate your honesty on that. I want to turn to your budget. You're going to get a vote tomorrow on the floor of the House. Hang on for 1 second. Let me play you a very quick soundbite from the one and only Donald Trump on our network earlier today. Take a listen to what he had to say about your budget.
I don't like his timing. I think for him to do that just before the election puts a tremendous negative spin on the Republicans. I think that, it's fine. You come out with a budget, you do the budget, but you don't do it at this time. And I can tell you the Democrats are sitting back and laughing. They can't believe their luck.
All right, you heard him. Paul, Democrats may be laughing or they may be crying. I don't know which. But what's your response to Donald Trump? He says the timing is wrong, the politics are wrong.
Well, I've never met the man, but I would simply say is we have to follow the law. At least we believe in the rule of law. We think we should follow the law, and the budget law says you got to pass a budget by April 15th. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is a debt crisis is coming, Larry. You know this. I know this. The president knows this. And we feel we have an obligation to the country to show how we will preempt and prevent a debt crisis. And Medicare is the primary driver of our debt crisis. If you do not get a handle on Medicare reform, you never, ever, ever balance the budget, let alone get the debt under control. And so what we're saying is let's do this in a smart way. Let's do these reforms in gradual ways where current seniors are not even unaffected. We get rid of the rationing board that the Obamacare puts in place of it. And so we leave current seniors in the promises that they have right now in the current Medicare. We reform it for the next generation so we can cash flow the current generation. And we get our budget on a path to prosperity with tax reform and all the rest. And we get our debt under control. We have an obligation to our constituents not to hide and say, trust us, we'll fix it later, and then we'll tell you the details after you elect us. No, we have an obligation to tell people, here's who we are, here's what we believe, and here's exactly the kind of solutions we want to employ and put in place if you elect us. That way we have an affirming election. That way we're honest with the country about what we think we need to do to fix the problem. We're going to the country with solutions. And if we earn victory in this election, then we have the right to put this in place and stop a debt crisis. And so I just think, coming from a district, by the way, Larry, that went for Dukakis, Clinton, Gore, and Obama, I don't come from a big Republican area. People are ready to be talked to like adults. They're sick of all this Medicare stuff. They don't want to be pandered to like children. And so I just think, I don't know Donald, but I think he's underestimating where the American people are right now, which is way ahead of the political class on this. They want solutions. They know the country's on the wrong track, and they know this debt's getting out of control. And I think they're going to reward us for taking on this challenge.
All right, let me just ask you one thing. You know, when you spoke to us, a group of conservative journalists in Washington, it's over a week ago now, some conservatives are saying that your budget doesn't balance fast enough. You said, and you told me this on Squawk Box last week, you said if you have the right growth assumptions because of the pro-growth tax reform, you do get to balance. Can you just briefly walk us through that? Does the debt come down? Do the deficits come down? Is this your answer to some of the conservative critics?
Yes, because we have to unfortunately use what is a static CBO baseline that assumes massive tax increases that slow down growth and an explosion of debt, which hurts growth in the long run. We have to assume that in our baseline so our budget doesn't look as good as it otherwise would if we had economic growth. Well, we've got tax reform and debt reduction, and so with reasonable growth assumptions, we show with our alternative growth scenario, a paper we released in the Budget Committee, that we'll balance the budget far faster than the static CBO analysis shows. So that means if you get economic growth and spending control combined, you'll have a budget balance far, far faster than you estimate with this static scoring from CBO.
All right, last one, Mr. Chairman. On Sunday, you said you would consider a vice presidential nomination. Today is Tuesday. Where are you on that?
I didn't say I would. Larry, I didn't say I would consider it. I said I haven't given it any serious thought. I still haven't. I'm in the middle of trying to pass a budget, as you know. And look, if I was dying to become president or vice president, I would have run for president. I'm not, so I didn't. So I'm focused on doing my job in Congress, but I haven't given this any serious thought because I don't think there's any point to giving it any serious thought because it's someone else's decision a long ways from now. And I'm in the middle of trying to do my job in Congress, which is to try and pass a budget to show the country how we would avoid a debt crisis.
All right. Well, good luck on budget passage. Many thanks, Budget Chairman Paul Ryan.